So, in the previous session, we discussed about work breakdown structure. The lowest level in the work breakdown structure is work
Mm-hmm.
package,
Yeah.
right? Now, we also discussed about an important
Right.
concept that scope baseline consists of scope statement, work breakdown structure, and the work breakdown structure dictionary. Apart from this, in PIMBOK 6th edition, we also see two other components, work package and planning package as a part of scope baseline. Now, in today's session, we'll talk about how we can take work packages one by one and decompose them into granular activities, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
after the work packages are decomposed into granular activities, the next step will be to sequence these activities, right? When you sequence all the activities, we get a project network diagram, and after that we'll estimate the duration for the activities, and once the duration for activities is estimated, then we'll be developing and fine tuning the schedule. Now we'll go through all these processes one by one. Now, what you have in front of uh, your screen is all the planning processes related to schedule management knowledge area. Plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity duration, and develop schedule. These are five planning processes in schedule management. Now let's go through them one by one. The first process is plan schedule management. Now, in most of the knowledge areas, the first process is just an approach setting process. It will tell you about the procedure. For example, plan schedule management, it will give you a schedule management plan. Now, what is schedule management plan? It will give you, basics. For example, how you are going to create the schedule for the project, how you are going to modify the schedule, whether you will take durations in hours, days, or whatever. Now, uh, will you be presenting schedule in the form of a Gantt chart or a project network diagram or a milestone chart, plus some control threshold on what basis you will make escalations related to any tolerance breach, or if let's say you forecast that schedule may exceed a particular date, then escalation should be made. So it will also talk about control thresholds, plus how you are going to track the schedule on regular basis. So the entire approach of maintaining the schedule will be defined in schedule management plan. Now I'm just repeating it again as I repeated in scope management plan. It does not contain, the schedule management plan is only an approach or a procedure. It does not contain any data related, right? If you want to see a
Mm.
sample schedule management plan, I'll show you. Can I show a sample schedule management plan?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me show you a sample schedule management.
Now, Pancake, do we have a copy of this example of the management plan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just showing it here.
Okay.
Now, see the schedule. In a typical schedule management plan, we'll have the basic approach for creating a schedule. For example, project schedule model, scheduling methodology. For example, will you follow critical path or critical chain method? Right? How would you add buffers to the project schedule? How would you present the schedule? Project network diagram or a Gantt chart or some other means. Now, second is level of accuracy. Now, when you say level of accuracy, just listen very carefully. See, PMI talks about two different levels of accuracy. One is order of magnitude and one is definitive estimates. Now, as per PMI, when the requirements are known at high level, for example, during charter or maybe during creation of vision, mission, or business case, at that time you can present order of magnitude estimates. And as per PMBOK 6th edition, in fact, as per 5th edition also, as per fifth edition also, you know, the order of magnitude estimate can vary between point minus 25% to plus 75. PMI allows
Please say it again.
PMI.
Between.
See, once when the requirements are, see, we are talking about level of accuracy. Now, PMI talks about two level of accuracies. One is order of magnitude, another is another is uh, definitive estimate.
Definitely.
Now,
Okay.
order of magnitude is used when requirements are at very high level, like at the time of charter, whereas
Thank you.
whereas definitive estimates are used when requirements are known to you at detailed level. Now, as per PMI, PMBOK 6th, 5th, and 6th edition, the order of magnitude can vary from minus 25% to plus 75% in terms of range. The rough order estimates can vary for time and cost both from minus 25% to plus 75%. For example, if based on very high level requirement, you have estimated that a project will finish in 10 months, right? So, so if it's an order of magnitude, the variation can be what is minus 25% of 10 months? Around 7.5 months, right? And what is 75% of 10 months? 17.5. So the actual estimates may vary from 7.5 months to 17.5. Are you getting my point or not?
I didn't get that.
Now, see,
I didn't get that. But so you said for level of accuracy, that's the acceptable range and determine realistic activity duration estimates. And you
yes,
said
the
it's
acceptable
down.
range used in now level of accuracy will be very good when you have detailed scope. See, with definitive estimates, PMI says the level of accuracy can be from minus 5% to 10%. With
Okay, so
definitive,
you said that the level of accuracy is PMI looks at it in two different ways.
yes,
One is order of magnitude,
another is definitive estimates.
definite estimates.
Yes. See, level of accuracy means accuracy level of your estimates. Now, PMI talks about two levels of accuracies. One is order of magnitude, another is definitive estimates.
Okay.
Order of magnitude means when the requirements are known at very high level. For example, during initiation, when you are creating a charter, estimates, whatever estimates you have done based on high level requirement, they might vary from minus 25% to plus 75%. Whereas once the requirements are detailed out, when you have reasonable amount of clarity about the project, at that point of time the estimates will vary from minus 5% to 10%. That's why they are called as definitive estimates.
So when it comes to definite estimate, you have more information to be able to give a more realistic time.
Yes, see, yes, absolutely, yes. When you come to definitive estimates, you have created your work breakdown structure, you have decomposed work breakdown structure into granular activities, and you have a very good level of prediction regarding the completion date and cost of the project. See, the reason I'm emphasizing on this is sometimes you get a direct question in PMP exam that what is order of magnitude? Order of magnitude estimates can vary from minus 25% to plus 75%. Now, when I say this range, people get surprised that why PMI allows such a big range. Now, this is a range. PMI is not saying you that your acceptable range should lie in the extreme. See, PMI says in the worst case scenario, order of magnitude can be in the range of minus 25% to plus 75%. But none in a realistic environment, nobody will allow you to have order of magnitude plus 75%.
One quick question.
Yeah.
So we already know that the definitive estimates are the one which we need to do for the project schedule management. When are we going to consider the order of magnitude? Are we going to, or it is just a sake of,
No, no,
like,
no, no, no. I'll tell you. Did you get my point, Poonam?
Can you please say it one more time?
No, no, no worries. I'll speak slowly, Preeti.
Hmm.
What happens? See, remember in pre-project, much before the project is
Hmm.
initiated, we created a business case.
Correct.
Now, in the business case, since it talks about expected benefits realized over a period of time, and it also talks about the cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
at that and initially at pre-project level, do you know requirements at detail level or high level?
High level.
So since you know requirements at high level, will you be relying on order of magnitude or definitive? You can't have definitive estimate at that stage. So
Correct.
whatever
Yeah.
cost or timelines you have considered during business case, they should be based on order of magnitude or rough order of magnitude. In fact,
Okay, got it.
let's say when the business case is approved, to initiate the project using charter. Even in charter, the charter is based on order of.
Mm.
So Chikita, is it clear to you also?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the only thing what I am thinking of, Pankaj, that when you make your when you do your commitments to the client, right? So that time, if you go for the order of magnitude, now you gave your estimate. Now, when you come to the planning, then you're looking for the definitive estimate. Like, then what about the commitment you make?
Yeah, that's why nowadays what it is said is when you meet with the client, now we are talking, see, even Dell is talking about pivotal. See,
Hmm.
none of the agility related concept will work unless and until you will say client. See, again, I'm not saying you to be at extremes minus 25 to plus 75. But in the realistic environment, you can say, okay, when you give estimates to the customer, you mean to say like this. See, I cannot commit resources on the basis of this estimate, but
Hmm.
but based on whatever understanding I have of the project, the estimate is this, but it might vary by plus minus 25%. I can give you more definitive estimates once we have gone through detailed requirements or when we had detailed scoping. So somehow we have to convince customer. If you feel if you feel you if you feel, please try to take help of as many subject matter experts as possible, because sometimes you know
Okay, so
estimating and giving.
that the SWOT we are talking about, when in the initiation phase when we are doing about the SWOT, the rough order estimate, is that the one we are talking about? And when we say order of
Correct.
magnitude, can
Correct.
be like
No, no,
minus 25 to
we
75%.
asking a question when initially, you are at pre-project level, client, you are in discussion with the client regarding a project. Client generally expect you to give you definitive estimate right from the first go, but you have the high level requirements. Preeti, is this the question, right?
Yeah.
Client,
Correct.
client, even if client is giving you a high level requirement, but he expects a definitive estimate from you. So how to
Oh,
deal with this situation? Is this a question, Preeti?
correct. Correct.
See, the
Yeah.
only way is, this is my request to everyone who is dealing in project. Do not commit resources based on high level requirement. You should clearly see the high level estimates based on high level requirement can only give you a roadmap, right? Some idea about the business viability.
Hmm.
Any kind of commitment on resources and date should be made based on detailed planning, which should be done later. So try to influence your customer. Give him an idea that whatever estimates you are telling right now may vary by plus minus 25%. Give them the reason for it, right? Try to convince, because try to influence the customer. That is the only way. See why? Because sometimes customer is educated on agility, sometimes he's convinced, sometimes customer is not aware of. So
Right.
if customer is not aware of, try to seek help from subject matter experts, try to seek help from the people in the organization who can influence that customer, but don't try to do everything yourself.
Okay.
But see, again, the chances of failure becomes very high if you commit resources based on high level estimates. Don't do it. Does it make sense or not? Guys, Chikita,
Does make
right? So, apart from level of accuracy in the schedule management plan, will also talk about units of measures. Now, when you talk about duration of activities can be measured in hours also, days also, weeks also. My suggestion is make it as granular as possible, right? And obviously, if you have seen a schedule in MS Project, every node is linked to a WBS ID,
Yes.
right? Now, the process on how to update the status of progress in MS Project or any schedule, right, is also how to update the progress is also part of a schedule management plan. Now, listen, as a good practice, a schedule of a project should be updated on daily basis. Schedule should always be updated daily. On daily basis, you should update the schedule. See, my suggestion is when you decompose
You
work
wait,
packages into
wait, hold
activity,
on.
do not have
You
any
said it.
activity which is greater than 1 day, so that at the end of the day when you track the status, you should only say either 0% done or 100% done. No 25%, 35%, 45%, 50%, because that create more ambiguity and it makes your schedule unpredictable.
But Pankaj, you last time you told it can be up to 10 days,
Again, listen carefully. I said lowest level.
80 to 10 days,
Yeah, yeah,
80 to 10,
yeah,
80, 80 by 8 by 80.
yeah. In the last session, I said the lowest level in the work breakdown structure, which is work package, should follow 8 by 80 rule. It should be in the range of 1 day to 10 day, Mr. Nanda. Now when you reach here in the schedule management, you have to in define activities process. You further decompose the work packages into activities.
Yeah.
Now activity.
And then 8 by 80 was only for suppliers, not for everyone, right?
Plus 8 by 80 was meant for work packages for supplier. But when the work packages of supplier are further decomposed into granular activities, make the activities so granular so that if at the end of the day when you have to track the status, you can only corresponding to every activity there should be only two statuses, done or not done. No 75%, 35%, 40%.
So I have a question. So you said for units of measure, that's when we do it the hours, days, and the staff. And you said the schedule should be updated on a daily basis.
Yeah.
See, you can update schedule on daily basis only, the day, with a clear sense only when the work packages or the deliverables are broken into very granular activities. If, for example, each of your deliverable is decomposed into very fine-grained granular activity of less than a day time, can't you update schedule on daily basis? Corresponding to every activity, you can write done or not done. For example, if a project has
Pankaj, that is the best practice, right? But in the real world, it's not that every time you will have some activity which can be only done in a day.
see my take here is
So
tell me give me any
let's say
example.
like let's say we are working on some kind of like database migration,
Okay.
right? We will be planning, okay, for that particular, let's say it was the last migration will be done in this particular day, and it will move to then maybe like 2 days for that particular migration, and then once that is done, will be the other dependent will be working on. So now let's see, like for the 2 days, the database guys have said like, okay, we'll be doing it for the 2 days because the daytime they cannot do it. So obviously they have to do it in the night time, right? The database migration can only be done in the night time. So in that case, we are not sure that that will be completed in just 1 day. Because the prep work also which they do, they have to bring down all the server, and they are doing some of the prep work. That if it continues for the next day, I mean, in the real world, I have seen like very few.
I'll tell you, no, I'll tell you how. See, what I'm trying to say is, see, if migration takes 2 days, divide this activity into sub-activities. See, for example, the prep work can be a separate activity. Migration, uh, and migration can be a separate activity. Try to divide an activity. For example, let's say if I have a wall to be painted and it takes 2 days, it's better to divide the wall into two halves and say, one half will be painted on one day and another half will be painted on one day. Another section.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Like that we do in the Gantt chart. We do like we'll keep dividing the activity into granular parts.
See, my take here is because based on my experience on project, the goof up happens when people start talking like this. My work is 75% done, 80% done, 60% done.
Yeah.
See, my take here is the work is either done or not done. So at
Yeah.
activity level, it should be always less than a day.
Yes. Okay, got it.
See, the reason I'm saying so, for example, if a work package, the lowest level work package for a supplier is 10 days, right? Now, this 10 days deliverable, if it is broken down into 10 activities, right, of one day each. Now, on the fifth day, I will be very sure, okay, as per the plan, 5 should have been done. But if there are only 3 activities done, I'm lagging behind the plan. So, that visibility is very, very clear when you have day level decomposition of activities.
So basically, the lower you go with the task. So when you get from work package, and then you go to like activities and the task, you should monitor or be able to report on them daily, as opposed to.
Absolutely. See, schedule the basic purpose of day level decomposition for activity is at the end of every day, please update your schedule. That's important. A lot of people don't take it seriously. There should be a habit that at the end of every day take inventory of whatever you have done, whatever you have not done, and if required, replan. So schedule monitoring should be and status update should be a daily thing.
Okay, makes sense.
Right. See, I have seen people, who took a lot of efforts in creating big schedules. They beautify schedule a lot. They put all the dependencies, but when it boils down to tracking, they don't do it on regular basis. Again, it's the whole effort becomes futile.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Nanda, are you getting my point now? So, 8 by 80 was for
Yes.
work package. For activity, it should be less than a day,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Control threshold is, if you forecast that tolerance might be breached, then you should escalate to next level, which is above project management. Because see what happens sometimes when project might slip beyond a certain uh, time limit, the whole purpose will become useless. It happens especially when you are launching a new product. See, when you're launching a new product, sometimes your competitor might be also launching at more or less same time. So
Mhm.
if you cross a particular threshold, the whole effort will become futile. So, the moment you forecast that it might go beyond that threshold, always escalate to senior management to ask for their suggestion. Right? Does it make sense or not?
Yeah, can you go back? We skipped over organizational. Are we
Yeah.
going back to?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Organization
going
cross. Yeah.
going we just talked about with control thresholds. Basically, if we were to see something, go to the next slide. I'm sorry. So this one is if we were to see something that's out of place, we escalate immediately. That's basically what this one is about.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Any variance should be escalated.
Yeah, see, I'll tell you. Escalation should always follow a basic principle called as management by exception. Now, what is an
Mhm.
exception? See, as whenever you give estimates of any project, never ever give estimates in single point. Always put estimates in some range. For example, the project might complete in 12 months plus minus 2 weeks,
So
or
we should always give the buffer, right?
always. This is not buffer. This is a unpredictable. Buffer is separate and tolerance is separate. See, people make mistakes. Some amount of rework will happen based on your efficiency level, so that is a tolerance level. Buffer is, there will be risks, so you will respond to risk, so you have a separate buffer for it.
Okay.
See, tolerances are
So
different, buffer is different.
Yeah.
Buffer is to respond to risks, right? Whereas
Uh-huh.
tolerance is, we will make some mistake in predictions. See, nobody works in straight line. But yes, see again, I am talking you because you all are project management experts. Sometimes customer doesn't understand. He will say, yeah, you are taking tolerance also, you are taking buffer also. For him, don't talk in terms of tolerance and buffers. See, tolerance means unpredictability, the variation that might happen based on conditions in your performance, right? It's not buffer. So, there is certain amount of leverage that you are given from the target. The project, the target schedule is 12 months plus minus 2 weeks, right? Now, if this is a flexibility, plus minus 2 weeks is a flexibility given to a project manager, right? On the schedule target. However, if you forecast things might go beyond that, you don't have any right to take a decision. You should escalate it to the next level. But as long as you are predicting some variation might happen in the schedule, but within the tolerance level, you can take a decision on your own. Does it make sense or not?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Now, can we go back to the process? Now, see, the first process is plan schedule management that will give you a schedule management plan. Now, let's start with the core processes. Can we start with the core processes? Define activities. Now, this is the core process, define activities. Now, listen very carefully. See, this is a process where you will take the lowest level deliverable, right? What is lowest level deliverable? Work package of work breakdown structure, and you will decompose the deliverable into granular activities, right? Now, the list of activities will be called as activity list. Apart from activity list, can you see activity attributes also as an output here?
Yeah.
Now, what are activity attributes? Activity attributes, you know, it it specifies the description of activity, right? The predecessor and successor of activity, the location where activity will be executed, tentatively the skills required to accomplish the activities, right? And the tentative duration to accomplish the activities and activity
Now,
attribute. Yeah, somebody is saying something. Yes, please tell me.
yes, I was going to ask you, all the things that you're saying now, that's included in the activity list, or is that included in the activity attribute?
Activity attribute.
Okay, so the activity list, that's just primarily what needs to be done, right? Or what will be done.
Absolutely. For example, let's say, you know, uh, I have to enable electricity of a room. I'm sitting in a room and I have to enable electricity of the room. In order to enable the electricity of the room, let's say enabling the electricity of the room is my deliverable or a work package. In order to accomplish this, a lot of activities need to be carried out. For example, first activity is procurement of the wire. Then inserting a conduit on the wall is another activity. Inserting wire inside the conduit is another activities, right? So the list of activities, activity list, and description of activity, details like tentatively how much time it is going to take, right? What are the predecessor and successor activity, the skill required to accomplish the activity. These are activity attributes,
Okay,
right?
so it kind of defines what I'm going to need in order to do what I need to do.
Yes, what activity entails. And apart from this, it also talks about what is the activity type. Is it a level of effort activity or a discrete activity? Now, PMI talks about two types of activities, level of effort and discrete. Now, what is the difference between level of effort and discrete? See, discrete activity will contribute to project deliverable, will lead to creation of project deliverable, whereas there are some level of effort activities also which are not related to, which will not contribute to project deliverable but will be delivered for the project. For example, maintenance of server and the basic activities, cleaning the work area and all, which are done on regular basis. So they should be billed, the cost of activity should be billed on the project. That's why they are called as level of effort, but they will not contribute to the project critical path. They will not contribute to the project schedule.
Okay.
Now, apart from this, can you see milestone list here?
Yeah.
Now, can
Mm-hmm.
somebody tell me what is a milestone?
Milestone is considered the major points or the major tasks or activities that need to be done before something else is actually done.
See, again, the first answer, the first, Chikita, the first thing that you said, major decision points. See, milestones do not have any duration. The duration is zero. They are points. So milestones are major decision points. They should be. They act as a indicators, important indicators across the project schedule. So generally people put milestones only at sign-offs. See, my take on this is try to put milestones at all the important point or before and after all the critical activities. For example, this this activity must start on this particular date can also be a milestone. The team must
Yeah.
be on board on by this date should also be a milestone. On this date, we should submit this activity to the customer for review. Can also be a milestone. And we all know, phase boundaries like kill points, sign offs, they all are milestones.
Okay. So we can mark any specific points for that, right? So
Yes, yes.
whichever we think like it's a big,
Primarily, see, I'll tell you, there are various formats of plan, but senior management is not interested in seeing day-to-day activity level tasks,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
They're least bothered about your Gantt chart. The only version of plan they would like to see is, or only version of schedule they would like to see is a milestone chart. So
Yes.
if at key points if all the key decision points are marked in a project schedule, it's very handy for them. Plus, it's good to have milestone put at before and after various critical activities.
Mhm.
And I am repeating again, the duration of milestone will always be zero.
Yes.
Does it make sense or not?
Uh-huh.
Any questions?
What does
Yeah.
what does that mean, Pankaj? That duration of milestone is gonna be
Yeah.
zero?
See, Preeti, milestone is simply an indicator. So before an activity, before an activity, for example, before an activity, for example, let's say UI design. You can put a milestone that UI design must start on this particular date.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not doing any activity,
You are not doing
Preeti, there. It's
any
just the start of the date. So that's why it is known as milestone,
yeah,
and
it's
it will be
just an
zero.
indicator, yes,
Okay.
right? So in fact, if you want, I can show you how milestones, are put in MS Project. Or see, if time permits, I'll show you and how entire PMP can be mapped on MS Project if you're interested, right? I can give you a brief 1 hour, view on how, because so far we have not done critical path and calculations. Once we'll be completed with, the critical path and all the earned value management cost calculation, I can show you how everything is simulated on MS Project, right? If you're okay with it. Now, can you see these three inputs?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
now I would talk about a critical change in PMBOK 6th edition. See, till PMBOK
Change.
5th edition, Mr. Nanda, you have seen, you have read a major chunk of PMBOK 5th edition, I believe.
Yes, yes, yes,
Now,
yes.
see, there was in PMBOK 5th edition, there was only one planning process that has change requests as an output, and that was plan procurement.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not the same case with PMBOK 6th edition. In PMBOK 6th edition, see, you have a planning process, define activities in front of you, and you can see change requests as an output.
Can you repeat that? That what the difference between fifth edition and sixth edition as it relates to having change requests
Yeah, yeah.
added?
Yeah, see, Chikita, in PMBOK 5th edition, in fact, not in, I'll say till PMBOK 5th edition, you will see, you, it was, the change request was output of most of the execution and monitoring and control processes. There was only one planning process where change request was output, that planning process was plan procurement. Right? Only plan procurement was the planning process in PMBOK 5th edition that has change request as an output. Whereas in PMBOK 6th edition, you can see change request as an output to a lot of planning processes. See,
Hey Pankaj, do we need to remember what was in PMBOK 5 and PMBOK 6? I mean, like just in the.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not
Okay.
The only thing is, by mistake, you might have read PMBOK 5th edition, and you
Yeah.
get a question that there is a change request as an output to define activity on this context. So I just want you to reinforce the understanding that now many planning processes have got change request as an output. That's it.
Okay.
See why? Because you are defining activities. Now, while decomposing work packages into activities, this is not a one-time activity. Is it a one-time activity or iterative activity?
It's an iterative.
So, the moment we are talking about iterative activity, you're getting more and more clarity. We are talking about incremental and iterative. Can there be a change request in define activities too?
Yes.
Right? So that's why, because now PMI is getting more aligned towards agile concepts. Does it make sense or not? Yeah, Chikita, did you understand why change request is an output?
I think I do, because things could actually change after we define activities.
Yeah. So see, it's an iterative process. You get more and more clarity. You refine activities also. So there are chances that there will be a change request in define activities as well.
Right.
Now, so again, now let's talk about certain tools and technique related to define activities. One tool is definitely subject matter experts input will be helpful. The second one is decomposition. When I say decomposition, it means decomposing work packages into granular activities. Now, third is very, very important, rolling wave
Right.
planning technique. Now,
I
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. I have a question for you.
yeah.
I noticed that you start from the outputs, and you've been doing this since we've gone over it, and I'm sure there's a method to it or a reason why. I just don't know why. Why do we always start from outputs and then go to tools and then go to input? Is there a reason, or that's just your method? Your
No,
method.
no. See, I prefer, see, when you start from output, you actually are talking about purpose of a process.
Okay.
Right? The purpose is to achieve that output. Then in order to
Right.
get that output, we need all these things. We need tools and technique and input. That's why I go in reverse manner.
Okay.
Right? Now, rolling wave planning. Now, listen very, very carefully. Rolling wave planning is an important concept. Rolling wave planning means planning those activities which are near term in detailed manner, right? And the activities which are at distant level can be planned at high level. As you move as you move forward, you get more and more clarity on those activities also which are you know in distant future. So as you go closer to those activities, you can refine them more in more details.
Mhm.
For example, if a project has to be delivered in 3 phases, when you are standing in the beginning, yes, you should be clear about the roadmap from start to end. You should know whether you have to deliver a sedan car or a hatchback car right from the beginning.
Mhm.
The roadmap should be clear. However, you cannot have detailed activity level plan from start to end. So what you can do for the immediate future, which is your phase one, where about which you have a decent amount of clarity. This is also called as planning horizon. For a phase one, you can have detailed level activity decomposition. But for phase 2 and 3, you can have high level activity decomposition. But by the time I reach close to the end of phase 1, I will have clarity on phase 2 activities. So at that point of time, I can detail out activities for phase 2. Now, as I move forward, when I'm close to the end of phase 2, I will have a good idea about what has to be done in phase 3, so I can detail out activities for phase 3. So I am proceeding in steps. The detailed plan for the successor stage is created when you are close to the end of predecessor stage, right? This is called as rolling wave planning or planning in steps. Does it make sense or not?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I almost want to say I see that as um, like planning, like the different phases you're playing, but I don't think that that's right.
No, see, I'm not saying ignoring anything. I'm saying that, uh, plan immediate future in detailed manner, but you should, right? And the distant future is a future about which you know, but you are not very clear. So don't waste time in detailing out, but prepare a high level plan for it. As you go close to the distant future, you have a better visibility on what to do next, so you can refine the plan. See, because
Oh,
every project has a planning horizon. The planning
Yeah.
horizon is a time frame till which, immediate time frame till which you can see very, very clearly.
so I do have one other question. We talked about decomposition right ahead of that one, and I'm not sure if I'm clear on that one. I have both decomposition and rolling wave planning highlighted because I have seen those two as a tools and technique from the ones that we
But
discussed.
how you're gonna estimate then?
See, I'll tell you. No, no. See, I'll tell you. See, again, the amount of planning will be. I'm saying refine the plan as you are proceeding ahead. I'm saying you refine the plan. See, I'll give you a very simple example. There is a foggy weather. In a foggy weather, when you have to travel from destination A to B, right? You take help of your GPS. After you only know, okay, you know that you're very clear about, let's say you have to travel 50 kilometers. You're very clear about which route to be followed for next 5 kilometers. You have moved to next, which is a planning horizon. You have moved to, you have covered 5 kilometers. When you are at the end of fifth kilometer, right? You park the car, again move the GPS and take the direction as per what GPS says to you regarding weather condition and the best possible route. So don't you refine the plan in this case?
Yeah.
See, in a project you know the destination, but the activities required to reach the destination may vary based on the environmental conditions. Do you agree or not?
Yeah.
So that is why you have to use decomposition and rolling wave planning together.
So those two are always going to be used together.
Yeah, and yes, I have to commit estimation. That's why I said even with definitive estimate, I am keeping a buffer of -5% to +10%, right? For this kind of things.
So basically, what we are doing is like we are having a high level assumptions, or we can say like high level milestones, and then as we move forward in the project, we keep refining it, right? For
Yes,
the
yes.
rolling day plan, right?
Yeah,
Pankaj?
for immediate future, you should have a detailed plan.
Yeah.
However,
Okay. So
for as
rolling
I'm yeah,
wave, rolling wave planning just allows us to keep refining the plan.
yes,
But we should always know the high level milestone of that. So basically, we should know what we are going to do next, after next, but we cannot go give the whole detail of it because we don't know. As we move forward, we keep getting it and we keep refining it.
yes. See, roadmap or where you have to reach should be very, very clear. For example, if you have to launch a new model of car, whether you are delivering a sedan car, a hatchback car, or sports utility vehicle, this should be very clear. However, to how to deliver it, the steps might vary based on environmental conditions. So what rolling wave planning says, it talks about planning horizon. What is planning horizon? Planning horizon is a time till which you can see very, very clearly what all activities have to be performed. So you have to planning horizon very granularly in a very detailed manner. For rest of the project to reach the, for rest of the time frame should not be ignored. You should have a high level uh, plan based on the best possible understanding. But as you have covered first planning horizon, right, you get much clarity on the second planning horizon because you are close to the time frame.
So
At that point,
Pankaj,
yeah,
Pankaj, when we say planning horizon, let's say like we have a project and we are coming up with an implementation of a software, right?
yes,
So we have planned like in 2 years we will be implementing that project. That can be considered as a planning horizon.
no, that's a roadmap.
Okay.
Planning horizon is to do this project. What are the immediate activities that needs to be done? What
So we have like, okay, tell me one thing. Planning horizon is activity level or a time level bounded? Because if I know what we
planning
have
horizon? Yeah,
seen, it's
see,
time, right? We amount of time when we are actually taking to when we like in as organization, if I'm planning something to implement something, in that case the time I have set up for that particular thing to get, that is the considered as planning horizon,
no,
right?
no, no, silly. Listen, no. See, that is a time frame. See, every
Okay.
project has a timeline or time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the roadmap is 2 years, and you know that in
Okay.
2 years we have to implement 4 modules of an ERP:
Uh-huh.
HR, sales and distribution, production planning, right, or maybe purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Now, generally, everyone starts with HR. So you know that the first module is HR, which
Mm-hmm.
has to be delivered in 2 or 3 phases.
Yeah.
Now, planning horizon is what should I do in next 4 weeks? Now, see, you are very very clear about what you have to accomplish in next 4 weeks. You know all detailed activities, what to be done in next. See the distance from the starting point that you can see very very clearly from start. Let's say I have clear visibility on each and every activity to be done for next 3 weeks. So next 3 weeks are my planning horizon,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So planning horizon should be planned in a very detailed and refined manner. For rest of the time frame you can have high level plan. Now for example, if I reach the end of first time planning horizon, I will have a good amount of clarity on what to do next for next planning horizon.
Okay. And
Pankaj,
where does the uncertainty or any kind of like, so suppose like some external environment has some issues, and
Very,
because
very
of
good.
that,
Very good question. See, why I am planning, why I am doing rolling wave planning. See, in order to mitigate the risk, I am following iterations, anticipation, and adaptation. This is called as adaptive planning as well, right?
Mhm,
Since I am doing step-by-step planning, I am continuously anticipating risk, right? I am
mhm.
delivering it. See, I am going iteratively. So this is the benefit of iterative planning. My I'm adapting. I'm adapting at the end of every planning horizon based on the conditions. That's what I
Mhm.
said. If let's say I have to traverse from point A to point B, which is the distance between the 2 points is 50 kilometers in a foggy weather. When I start, let's say I know that 10 kilometers are pretty clear, very safe. So I know all how to reach 10 kilometers. After 10 kilometers, I again stop. I switch on my GPS. I try to see what are the next 10 where I have to travel for next 10 kilometers. Are you getting
Pankaj,
the point? So when I am planning, like when I'm using rolling wave planning, I am following iteration and adaptation.
Mhm. And
So
based on the uncertainty, my planning horizon can be short or can be long, right? Like
yes,
you had like the
higher the
vision
risk,
for 10 kilometer was very clear.
very good,
So
very
my
good.
planning horizon was for 10 kilometer.
Yes,
Then it was a foggy, so my planning horizon will be only for 5 kilometer because
yes.
further than that I don't know.
So what I'm trying to say is higher the risk, higher the complexity of scope, lower should be the planning horizon.
Got
Because
it.
continuously you may have to adapt based on the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Higher the uncertainty, shorter the time horizon.
Got it.
Pankaj,
So
I
wait, you said,
Pankaj,
okay, wait.
Yeah, Nanda
You
sir.
said,
Pankaj,
Yeah, tell me.
okay.
uh, can you just reiterate decomposition? I got little.
Yeah, decomposition simply means, decomposing work package into granular activities.
Acha.
Right, that's it. Sir, is the rolling wave planning concept clear to you?
Yeah.
Right.
So you said decomposition is down to activities.
Yes,
Granular.
decomposition is down to activities, yes.
Okay, so there's decomposing the the work package
Yes,
to activity,
More granular activities.
yes.
granular. And then you just said the higher the risk, we were talking about planning horizon. I don't think I have a clear understanding of that, but you said the higher the risk, then what?
Shorter the planning horizon.
See, higher the risk, shorter the planning horizon. See, if the if the risk associated with the project is higher, it's better to have a shorter planning horizon. After after a shorter planning horizon, revisit the plan, review the plan again.
So how do you define planning horizon in just a couple of words?
Planning horizon means, the distance from the beginning, where the distance up to which you can see very clearly what you have to do in terms of activities. For example, in a foggy weather, when you have to travel from destination A to B, if the distance between A and B is 50 kilometers, if you know clearly that where you have to go, let's say I know very clearly that the next 5 kilometers are these. For next 5 kilometers, I have to follow this path. So this becomes my planning horizon.
So it's a period, right? It's a period which we
It's
are
a period.
covering.
It's a period. Generally, planning horizon is mapped to the phases of the project. When you design the
Mhm,
phases of the project, they're based on planning horizon.
mhm.
So that's why I can also say immediate phase should be planned in detailed manner. Distant phase should be mapped. Should be planned at high level, right? And the size of the phase is based on the risk associated with the project. Higher the risk, shorter will be the size of the phase.
Got it.
Yeah, Chiquita, are you clear or not?
Yeah, I think we talked about that with.
Yeah, you said something, Chiquita.
Yeah, I said I think we talked about that before with the higher the risk, the shorter the phase.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. See, higher the risk means you need to frequently review. See, a higher
Yeah.
risk require frequent review. That's why higher the risk, higher the complexity, shorter should be the stage. At the end of every phase, you should do review and retrospection to see what went well, what went wrong. Sorry, what went
Yeah.
well and what went wrong, and what can be improved going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it clear, Chiquita?
Yes.
Chiquita, I'm saying you. Is it clear?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
Yeah. Preeti, are you there? Preeti, are you there?
Yes, Pankaj.
So,
I was facing network issue, but it's better now.
no. So, any doubts in rolling wave planning or decomposition?
No, I think I'm good.
Now, see the next
Now, I
step. Yeah.
thank you. I have one question. Is decomposition and rolling wave plan, are they the only tools and techniques as it relates to defining an activity, or will we find those more in throughout the process?
No. See, for decomposition of activities, rolling wave planning and for decomposing work packages into activities, these two only primarily. Now, the next step is to sequence the activities. Now, before we talk about sequencing the activities, let's talk about the relationship between that can exist between two activities. Can we talk about relationships that exist between two activities?
Hey, Pankaj, can we go back into the one which we were doing the decomposing and we can look at the input for 1 second?
Yeah, sure,
What
sure.
are the inputs for that?
Yeah, sure.
So the project management plan and one.
So,
Okay, okay.
why project management plan? Because project management
Yeah,
plan will consist of scope baseline. And what is
right.
scope baseline? Baseline means work breakdown structure, the dictionary, the work package, the planning package, and the scope statement. So everything will be there in the project management plan. That's why it is an input here.
Sure. And when we say like the meeting for the tools and technique, is it the regular meetings which we have
Yes,
so that we can
yes,
define the activities? Got it.
absolutely. Regular meetings, yes.
Okay, got it. We can, I mean, you can go forward.
Yes. Now we are talking about sequence activities. Now, in the sequence activities, eventually we are going to get project schedule network diagrams. And a project schedule network diagram looks like this. Can I show you some sample and simple project network schedule network diagram? Let me show you some of them. Can you see this project schedule network diagram?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When you will put all the activities in sequence, you will get a diagram like this. Does it make sense or not?
So what is this? Start, then one is C and G is 2.
These are all activities, I'll tell you. See, when you put all the activities like A, B, C, G, all these activities in sequence, because you get
Mm-hmm.
a diagram like this. Now, A is an activity name, B is an activity name, C is an activity name, and the numbers on the top are duration.
Okay.
When you put all the activities in a project in sequence, you get a diagram like this from start to end.
So when we start to look at the actual activities, or should I say the schedule management, we've gone past the WBS and the and the work package
Yeah.
breakdown and the work package. We're now breaking down the work package.
Yeah, no, work package has been broken down.
We've already broken down into activities.
Now,
Now,
Right.
after the activities, this diagram comes.
so this is
Right.
activity A, activity B, activity C. Now, see, yes, this activity A, B, C, G might be one work package, D, E, F, G might be another, and H, I. It might be, right? So, there are different work packages. Now,
There are numbers to it. What does it indicate?
numbers, as I said before, numbers are duration. For example, A will take 4 days or 4 hours, whatever you think. A can be 4 hours. B is 3 days or 3 hours, whatever you take. C is 1 hour or 1 day. G is 2. So numbers are the duration. Now, if you see from start to end, how many paths are there? Can somebody tell me? See, there is one path from start to end which is A, B, C, G. Is it a path or not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
What is the duration of A, B, C, G here? 4
Mhm.
plus
10
3,
days.
7 plus 1, 8, 10. Is it
plus
10 or
two, yeah,
not?
10.
Can you see any other path? Let's
Yeah.
go. Now there are other
So
paths also. The second
D,
path is
E, F, G.
D, E, F, G. Sorry, let's keep it capital. D,
DEF.
E, F, G. Right? What is the length of path D, E, F, G?
So 9 plus
17.
6, 15 plus 2,
70.
17.
17.
Uh, Another path is D, H, I.
Yeah. So
What
that
Mm-hmm.
is the length of D, H, I?
11.
7.
11. Now tell me one thing. Out of these paths, which path should determine the duration of the project? Should it be the shortest or should it be the longest?
Longest.
This.
Long, Longest. Why
Yeah.
longest? Because the project scope involves completion of all these activities. If I take
Yes.
the longest path, all the activities will be done within that time frame. Do you agree or
Yeah.
not?
Yes.
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 So the longest path that determine the duration of the project, or that determines the time frame of the project, or that determines the schedule of the project is called as critical path. See, the duration of this project is 17 days, which is depicted by the path DEFG. This path is called as critical path. Now, since critical path determines the duration of the project, we cannot afford any delay on any activity on the critical path. We can't see the critical path for this project is DEFG. We cannot afford any delay on any activity on the critical path. Does it make sense or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Preeti, is it clear or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, can we afford any delay on B? Now, since the length of the path ABCG is 10, I will say
Mm.
if any of the activities on this path A, B, C, not G, G is on the critical path also, if A or B or C, let's say, is delayed by 7 days, it won't make much difference. Still, project can complete on 17 days. If A or B or C is delayed by 7 days, still project can complete in 17 days. True or false? You can check yourself.
True.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes. They don't fall on the critical path.
Plus, see, imagine if let's say A is delayed by 7 days, 11, 3, 14, 15, 17, still project can be done in 17 days. Let's assume B getting delayed by 7 days, 4 plus 10, 14, 15 and 17, still project can be done in 17 days, right? Now,
Yes.
similarly, H and I, right? If the whole length path length is 11, critical path is 17. If either H or I is delayed by 6 days, will it make any difference?
No.
No. No.
So, listen carefully. The amount of delay that we can afford on any activity on a project network diagram is called as float or total float or slack or total slack. It is known by 4 terms: float, total float, slack or total slack. Again, the definition is amount of delay that we can afford on any activity on a project network diagram like this. This is a project network diagram, and the amount of delay that we can afford on any activity on the project network diagram is float or total float or slack or total slack. For critical path, the float is always equal to 0.
Okay, what are the 4 things again? Float?
Float, total float, slack, total slack. All these 4 things are same. There is no difference in any of these.
I didn't know that.
They're all same.
Can you repeat the definition again? Float.
Yeah. The amount of delay that you can afford on any activity on the project network diagram is called as float, total float, slack or total slack. Now, can we proceed? Can we do one more example of this?
I have a question.
Can we do one more example?
Yeah.
Now, let's do one more example of this. Can you try? See, I'll give you some time. Try it on your rough sheet or rough notebook, and then I'll explain you here. You have to find out. You have to find out all the paths, then critical path, and then also find out float of all the activities A, C, D, E, B, F.
All right.
Yeah. So can I do it for you? Now let's start with the number of paths. Now, one path
A,
is
C, D,
A,
C,
C,
D.
D. What is the length of this path?
11.
11.
11.
Yes, 11. Another path is ABD.
ABD.
Mhm.
9.
Okay, it's
6,
9.
9.
9.
9.
Yes. Another path is
EBD.
7.
ABD.
EBD, right? EBD.
EBD, yeah.
Now, what is the length
EB.
of this path?
11 and 3. 14.
14. Very good. Now, the next path is
EF.
F.
EF.
EF.
what is the length of EF?
9.
9.
9, right? Now, what is the
Yeah.
critical path here?
EBD.
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 It's the critical path. If somebody asks you what is the duration of this project, you can say 14 days, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
Now,
But how do we determine these numbers, Pankaj?
no, see
Those are the.
this one too.
EB,
Which one?
huh? Yeah, so they all are WBS package, right?
No, they are activities. They are
Yeah,
activities.
Their activities
And that
and
the
they
time
are
to the time to
their
finish those
successor,
activities.
their successor, predecessor, like that.
they are
Okay,
predecessor and
got it.
successor activities. A is one activity, C is another, D is. For example, let's say there is a work package. Now, to accomplish a work package, you need A, C, D, and B. To accomplish another work package, you might require E, B, D, and F. Right? Now, I think Preeti, you asked me how these 2 days, 6 days, they are determined.
Yeah,
No, this
right.
for this you have to do estimate activity duration. We will talk about that.
So that's what I was thinking.
No,
It's
no,
the
no.
estimate what we can think of, right?
Yes,
Okay.
estimations have to be done.
Okay.
So now, can you tell me float of activity B? 0. Why? Can we afford any delay on B? No. Why?
No,
No.
because
Critical
it is a
path.
part of critical path.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, what should be float of F?
That's 9, right? 4. 4.
No,
4 days.
what is silly mistake?
Sorry, 5 days.
5 days. 5 days.
It's 5 days. Now, what should be the float of A? A is on the critical path.
3.
No, A is not on the
Critical
critical
path.
Zero,
path.
zero.
No, it's not a critical path.
Yeah,
No, even
0.
No,
A is
no,
not a
no.
part of critical path.
you're right. 3. 3, right?
3, 3,
2, 8,
3.
11, 3. What is float of D? 0. E
Just D
Yeah.
or oh,
Oh, wait. You just
float is
threw
only
me.
for activity. Float for activity D is 0. Why? Because it's on the critical path.
hmm.
Critical path.
E is also 0, critical path.
Oh,
E is also 0 because critical
Yes.
path, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Wait a second. So,
got you. Okay.
F, what is the float of F?
That's 2, right?
7,
5 days.
9 minus 14. 5.
Yeah.
5
7
days.
days. 7 days.
5.
7 days, right?
5.
No,
7 days.
E and F. Oh,
No, it should be 7 days. Let's see, E is 7, then again, F will be 7. Then only we can have like a 14 days period.
No,
correct.
no. See, I'll tell you. We should not have, see, EF should not go beyond 14.
Hmm.
What is the length of
Should be 5.
float?
Okay.
Should be 5.
5. 5.
5.
Right.
Even if
Should
F
be
is
5.
delayed by
Right.
5 days, still
Okay, yes.
Right.
Yes. I was adding both 2 plus 5. Okay,
Right?
correct.
So the
I
basic,
have a question.
yeah.
I'm a little lost. How do we get the float? How do we calculate the float?
See, if I ask you a question, what is float of F? It means the amount of delay you can afford in F without delaying the critical path.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Okay.
Yes.
So how much delay can you afford in F? We know that critical path length is 14 and the path that contain F, what is the length? 9.
9. So 9, 15, 14 minus
9
9.
is not 5. Even if F is delayed by 5 days, still project can complete in 14 days.
Yes.
So basically, when you add the numbers together on that particular path and subtract it from the critical path, and that gives the
Yes.
float.
Yes. So
Yes.
actually what I am doing is I am subtracting the activity that contains, the duration of the path that contains the activity with the critical path. duration.
So if I want to do B, would that mean 14 minus 9? Would that be like 6? Would that mean B would the float for B would be 6?
D or B?
So
B
you
will
can,
be
no,
0.
B
Zero.
cannot
That's a
because it is a
critical
part
path.
of critical path.
Yeah.
It will be always 0.
Critical path. It's a critical path.
No.
EBD is 14 already.
And you cannot expect any delay on E or B or D.
So their float will be always 0.
0.
Okay. Oh, okay, got it. So whenever a certain point, A, B, C, D, whatever it is, if it's in the critical path, the float is always 0.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
You
So what I was
cannot go beyond that.
Okay, because what I was thinking, if I looked for B and I went A, B, although it equals 9, subtracting 9 from 14 would give me a wrong answer. So what you're saying is because B is a part of the critical path, it's always going to be 0.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Now let's see the output of sequence activities is project schedule network diagram. Now the diagram that you saw recently, what? Project schedule diagram.
Yeah.
This diagram
Network.
the diagram was project schedule network diagram, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
technique used was precedence diagramming method, PDM. Right? Now,
Okay.
apart from this, there are certain, when you put two activities in sequence, you will have certain type of dependencies, right? We'll talk about those dependencies now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the dependencies that two activities can have. Now, the logical relationship at activity level can be finish to start, finish to finish, start to start, and start to finish. Now, let's see what is the difference between all of these. When you put two activities in sequence, sometimes you get finish to start. Now, listen carefully. Finish to start means the successor starts when the predecessor finishes, right? An example of this is you can see once the deliverable, which is predecessor, is complete, then only you can start testing. Once the deliverable is created, you can start testing. This is an example of finish to start relationship. Did you get finish to start relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, can I say in the finish to start relationship, predecessor drives the successor?
Yes.
Right? Now, see, before I move to finish and start, which are simple, I will straight away jump to start to finish. Now, can you give me any example where successor drives the predecessor?
Which position you have?
See, in a start to finish relationship, the successor drives the predecessor. See, in the real-time situation, wherever just-in-time inventory system will prevail, it will be successor driving the predecessor. For example, in IT environment, you procure licenses
Yeah.
and you allocate licenses to the people. The first cycle is finish to start, but afterwards, you don't keep on procuring licenses. You see the successor, how many licenses have been allocated or consumed. Based on that, you trigger procurement.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example where completion of successor drives the start of the predecessor. Another example, you procure bricks and construct wall. The first cycle is finished to start, but afterwards, do you keep on procuring bricks? No. You see the completion of the wall. Based on the completion of the wall, you trigger procurement. So successor drives the predecessor in case of start to finish relationship. Is it clear or not?
Yeah.
Is the difference between finish to start and start to finish clear? If it is not, please ask me.
Yeah,
Oh,
again, the definition that you have given, successor activity cannot finish until a predecessor activity is started. The licensing example that you gave, is it fitting to it?
No, let me see. First, see, in a let's talk about finish to start. Finish to start is when predecessor completes, successor starts, right?
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
create deliverables, then only you can test. Is it clear?
yes.
Now, start to finish is reverse. The start of predecessor depends on completion of successor. So, any environment where you want to keep just-in-time inventory, you can follow start to finish, right? An example of start to finish is, see, when I procure licenses, first is I procure licenses and I allocate licenses. This first cycle is what? Finish to start. But afterwards, it will move into start to finish. For example, I will not keep on procuring licenses. I will see how many licenses have been consumed. Based on that, I will trigger procurement. Based on the completion of successor. See, I'll give you a very layman example for it. Mr. Nanda, let's say
Yeah, yeah,
you procure bricks and construct wall.
yeah, yeah.
Now you don't keep on procuring the bricks. What do?
Hmm.
Based on how much wall has been constructed, you will trigger procurement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is start to finish.
So
Hmm.
when do you use in like where exactly we are gonna
This is
uh,
for Gantt
Very
chart. We
less.
usually do that.
See, for example, in software projects, no, more, not at all. But yes, when you talk about infrastructure projects where there are chances that inventory might get accumulated because there's a cost associated with
oh,
inventory, you will, when in data
got you.
centers and all, you will use this.
Yeah. No, in
Mm-hmm.
sometime operations also we use because based on
Oh.
that, we are providing the facility or something. At that time also we
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Oh, okay. So, Pankaj, recently my husband is actually involved in a project.
Yeah.
So what happened? They are developing a new product in the market. It's like having all the new technologies and mix of everything.
Yeah.
So basically, that got already delayed. So if they had a commitment, like client was saying, if you can't deliver in this period of time, we won't be able to, give you the contract.
Yeah.
So product was not ready. They agreed, and now it's getting delayed and delayed. So basically, this whole project is in much more bigger loss. But they are considering this product in future. Once it becomes, once this gets ready, they are getting more clients actually.
Mhm.
So in the market. So is something is gonna fit in here or not?
No, no,
Because
no, no,
once
no, no, no.
no.
This is something that no, this is a strategy. This is a part of strategy. See, what happens, in see, wherever you there are chances of accumulation of inventory, you use this. I'll tell you. I'll give you another example. See, you know, have you seen manufacturing shops in India?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, furniture
Yeah.
shops, furniture shops in India.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
there are three, furniture shops having 4, 5 floors, all full of furnitures.
Mm-hmm.
So now these kind of shops were owned by, people who are filthy rich, who have a lot of cash associated with them. But
Mm-hmm.
the modern people who are coming into this area, they don't work like this. They work on
Right.
make to order.
Right.
So they will have very minimal inventory available with them. Now the people will come, they will show a catalog. Once the people
Mm-hmm.
commit to a order, they pay them some amount, then only they will start procuring and building those things.
This is what happens in US. So when you place an order, there will be like 4 to 6 weeks of this time gap, and once you select the model, then they start building
So this is
projects.
start to finish. This is start to finish,
Okay, gotcha.
right? So they want to prevent accumulation because there is a cost associated with carrying the inventory, which needs to be avoided,
Hmm.
right? That's why.
And even depreciation, right?
Yes, yes, obviously, keeping inventory might depreciate also. Yes. Sorry. Now, can we do finish to finish?
Mm-hmm.
No. In finish to finish relationship, you are least bothered about when a particular activity got started. In finish to finish, you are only bothered about the finish dates. Now, wherever integration is involved, you use finish to finish. Now, let's say there are two components A and B that needs to be integrated. You will be least bothered about when you started A, when you started B. But the day you have to integrate, both have to be available. Yes or no? See,
Mm-hmm.
let's say a body of a cell phone and a cell phone internals, right? In a cell phone, you have a body, you have a chassis, you have a camera, you have a battery. The day you have to launch the model, right? You want everything should be available.
Mm-hmm.
You are least bothered about the start date. So that is finish to finish. So whenever integration of multiple components is involved, you will use finish to finish.
Right.
Does it make sense or not?
Mhm.
Start to start, when two activities have least amount of dependencies with each other, you can start both of them more or less at the same time. That is start to start. Two activities, if they are least dependent on each other, you can start them together in parallel. That is start to start relationship.
Start to start.
Now see, the dependencies between two activities can be put like this in terms of logical relationship also. Apart from this, there are three other dependencies also: mandatory dependencies, discretionary dependencies, or internal dependencies, or external dependencies. Right? Now see, what are mandatory dependencies? Mandatory dependencies are like prerequisites,
Yeah.
right? Now the PMI reserve word for them is hard logic. Can you create a wall without creating a foundation? Yes or no? No, you can't do it. So
No, no.
so the dependency between foundation and construction of wall is what? Mandatory one. Can you test a deliverable without creating it? No. So this is a kind of a mandatory dependency. Or any kind of government approval required for a construction project is a mandatory dependency, right? These are called as hard logic. Now, discretionary dependencies are dependencies which are placed based on good practices. They're also known by the term preferred, preferential, or soft logic. For example, start designing after the requirements are 100% done. It's a discretionary dependency or soft logic or preferred logic. As a good practice, you are following it. You could have started design after the requirements are 70% finished also. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? So these are called as discretionary dependencies or preferred logic or preferential logic or soft logic. Now, there are some internal dependencies also that we discussed, the finish to start, start to finish and all. Apart from this, there are external dependencies also. Now, external dependencies are beyond the boundaries of the project. Let's say you procure a component from some external vendors, right? Now, I'll give one example of external dependency. Till 2 years ago, the diesel car manufactured in India, there were various brands that were coming launching their new model of a car. They all were procuring engine from Fiat. So
Yeah.
they didn't have any control on engine. They have to they have to procure it directly. They have to procure a readily available engine from Fiat. So this is an example of external dependencies. Generally, external dependencies are source of risk in a project. Does it make sense or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, can we go back to the processes? Now,
Whew.
apart from dependency, you know, dependencies, we also have a concept of lead and lag. What do you mean by lead? Lead means overlapping two activities. For example, when the predecessor is 75% done, you can start a successor. Requirements are 75% done, you can start designing. Construction is 50% done, you can start testing also. What is this? Lead means overlap. Generally, when you have to fast track the project to do it, to compress the schedule, you will follow lead. You will do activities in overlap. Does it make sense or not?
Yeah, yeah.
Similarly, lag means when the predecessor is complete, you wait for some time, then start successor. Now, in some activities, when the predecessor is complete, you cannot start successor immediately. For example, let's say I cement the wall. After cementing the wall, I have to wait for some time for the wall to get dry, then only I can paint it. So the time between cementing and painting is lag, delay. Yes or no?
So lag is delay, time you need before you can start the next
Yes,
activity.
absolutely yes. Lag is a delay. Yes, right. Apart from this, project management information. See, whenever you see the word project management information system, it can be MS Project, Primavera, EPM, any tool. Now, you can depict sequencing in any of the tool, right?
Yes.
In any of the tool you can put predecessor, successor, and dependencies. Again, as I said to you before, if you are interested, I'll demonstrate how the entire whatever we are doing, how we can put it all together in MS Project.
We are using MS Project actually.
Yeah, okay, so
Are you talking using the software project?
yeah, MS
The
Project. MS Project can be used in construction also, Chikita. Even in construction, MS Project can be used.
All right. My boss always wants me to use project, Microsoft Project, and I have no clue how to use
Oh,
it.
no worries. See, again, I'll tell you. Uh, Guys, we will do a lot of calculations here on PMP. We'll do critical path. We'll do earned value management. If you are interested to learn, I'll demonstrate everything on MS Project also later once you are thorough with the concept. If you are okay with that.
That will be
Please,
great.
please,
Yeah,
Yeah,
please, please. Yes, yes. Great help.
yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Great help.
Yeah.
Pankaj, I didn't get this project management information system.
Yeah, see, there are tools. In fact, since you are
Okay.
you are more on agile, for you example would be Jira.
Okay.
All the tools like
Right.
Jira, Agile Central, right? Yeah, these are all project management information. Apart from these big tools, I will call a simple Excel sheet also as a project management information system.
System, yes.
Yes, right?
Okay.
So actually, when you hear the term project management information system, you're only looking at like the software or the tools you use to display the data or display the schedule, um, like the Microsoft Project, Excel.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, if you're using like just the like if when you're using like a Gantt chart, is that considered a project management information system as well?
See, Gantt chart is a report generated through a PMIS. A Gantt chart, a project management information system like MS Project, it generates Gantt charts as a report,
Gantt chart.
as a
Yes, yes,
it's a view. It's a part of
yes.
it. So MS Project in totality is project management information system. Jira is a project management information system. Rally is a project management information system.
TFS also then, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Right. Now, see, so far we have done three processes: plan, schedule management, right? Plan, schedule management, and then we did define activities, and then we
Define
did
activities.
sequence activities.
Sequence activities. Yeah.
Now see, it's up to you. Do you want a recap of whatever we have done so far, or do you want a new process to be started?
We have done the
I'll
logical relationship.
see, try 18th first. Try 18th in
Okay.
sequence. First do 18th, then you can do 17 and 16. And there is one question here on,
Okay.
this is a question on start to finish. You can try this also.
So 18, 17, 16,
And
and
21.
you said like